What's up, guys? It's NoCurser. Not gaming today. I am pretty much starting my new section of my YouTube channel where pretty much it's just about God. There is no gaming, which some people might find boring, but hopefully it inspires someone. And if it's just one person it inspires, that's worth it. So we're gonna jump right into it. The topic of today's video is stew, as the thumbnail name says. And you might be wondering, Josh, what in the world does stew have to do with anything? Well, let's hop right into it. In Genesis chapter 25, there's a story about Jacob and his brother Esau, who were the sons of Isaac. Now, to give you some backstory to this and the story, or not exactly backstory, but some context, a birthright, which is the main part of this entire thing, is pretty much ownership of everything that your father owned back then. So the oldest son of every family would get all the possessions of his father when his father died. And he would also get a spiritual blessing from his father that was part of the birthright. So to have a birthright is a very important thing. Me having 3 sisters and no older brothers, I would get the birthright to my family, but sadly in this day and age, this is not how it works. There are wills and stuff is split up, whatever. Anyway, in this story, Esau, who's the older brother who has the birthright, was hunting. And Jacob, his younger brother, was at home making stew. So, Esau had just gotten back from hunting, which we read in chapter 25, verses just say 28. Verses 28. It says Esau got home from hunting, and he said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I am famished." Jacob replied, "First sell me your birthright." Now, anyone in their right mind goes, "Wait, no. That's like saying, Josh, will you please give me some chicken?" And I go, "You know what, sister? Sure, but when our parents die and all the stuff in their will is given to us, give me all the stuff that belongs to you." Anyone in their right mind would go, "No, why in the world would I do that?" But in that moment, we see that Esau's present emotions and needs were blinding him from the importance of his future gain and his future reward. And that is the topic of this video. Later in this story, he ends up selling his brother his birthright and a whole lot of other stuff. In the next chapter, pretty much Jacob deceives his father into giving him his birthright instead of Esau. And the Lord was pretty upset with that because the Lord saw the promise that Esau gave to Jacob that he would give him his birthright, and the Lord was going to make it happen anyway. That's a different story. But anyway, the topic of this entire talk is, what is your red stew? Because in life, there are things that we do for that one moment that end up ruining your life in the future. We see athletes and famous people who were like who are big deal people now, who are pretty much taken down because of decisions they made 30 years ago. That most people are like, I don't even remember that happening. But these things that they might have done for that single enjoyment ended up ruining their career, and their lives. So we really have to reflect on what is our thing that makes us do things wrong that ends up ruining us. I have an example. I am only allowed to play 1 hour, correct, 1 hour of video games a day. I'm not even allowed to play on Sundays. So I'm only allowed 6 hours of video games a week. And more times than not, even though my mom can hear me, I usually go over that over that 1 hour period, because in that moment I am so mad that I don't get to play more than an hour that I end up disobeying the rules, which results in Josh gets caught because my dad can see how much time I play every day, and I end up losing it. So what happened? I wanted to play more game time. I played more game time, and I ended up losing 6 hours for playing 1 hour over. Was it worth it? For those of you who don't know, it was not worth it. It's never been worth it. Anyway, don't make bad decisions, kids. Anyway, so many times in life, we as humanity do stuff that our flesh wants that we don't think about. It's called making rash decisions. And just so you guys know, I'm a pro at that. So, but it's not good. So, if you are watching this video right now, I advise you to just take a second, pause this video, and think about something that you do either often or that you're tempted to do often that ends up damaging you in the future. For deeper examples, for people who can't think, people who do stuff like, I'm trying to think of an example, but I can't think of anything. Oh, who procrastinate. Procrastinating is a bad one because you procrastinate so you can do this right now, and then it turns out because you procrastinated, you didn't study for your test and you got an F, which then resulted in you can't hang out with your friends and you can't do this because you're grounded because your parents found out you got a bad grade on your test. And you realize that time you procrastinated to get and do something else ended up causing so much worse than that. An example, if you guys have ever read the Bible, it says in the Bible, the God of Abraham and Isaac and then Jacob. I believe it's the order, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that might not be a big deal to Esau, but I mean, it could have been Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. Anyway, and it was one of the many results of him selling his birthright. Was it the biggest of the results? No. Was it something that happened? Sure. So really, pause this video, take a second, and think about something that you do often or attempted to do that ends up resulting in something bad. Cool. Hopefully you paused the video. If you didn't, I'm going to give you another shot. Okay, your shot's over. So now, I guess we're going to talk about real quick what we can do. So, one thing that really helps me when I'm sitting down and I'm like, got my Xbox controller in my hand. I'm like, really ready to play another hour of video game time, but I don't have it. I don't own it. It doesn't belong to me. And I can decide if I want to take the risk of doing it and hopefully not getting caught, which I never advise, guys. I never advise it. Because sometimes you get away, but sometimes you get away with it, but it's honestly not worth it, and you have to live with a guilty conscience. Have you guys ever done something wrong, and every single time your parent calls your name, you think it's because of that? It haunts people, and it's not cool. It's not fun to be in, and I've done it too many times. Anyway, so I can make the decision that I can risk it and keep playing, and 89% of the time get caught and lose a week, or I can get off and live to think about tomorrow I get to play again, which is a ton better. Or I could ask my mom for another hour of video game time, which never works. Ever. It never works. Ever. Anyway, so really, I really advise you guys, if you are doing something that is going to affect you in the future, you really have to sit down, think, and pray. And if you're really tempted, I advise you to take it to someone else who you can talk to. Have someone that's keeping you accountable. If your sister or your brother sees you when you get on video games, make sure that they come to you and go, hey, Josh, it's been an hour, or whatever your name is. Hey, it's been an hour. It's time to get off. And that'll be your accountability. Or if it's your mom or dad, having your mom and dad as accountability is scary, but it's what they're there for, guys. They're supposed to be our people who are protecting us and keeping us accountable and being our pretty much parental guidance. Yeah, they're parents. So you can always taste up to them, even if it doesn't feel like it. Sometimes scary because you're like, oh, if I tell them that I'm dealing with this on Xbox, then they're going to take my Xbox. But sometimes it's for the best of you guys to have that happen to you. I hate doing that stuff because it happens too often to me. But it ends up being for my best interest because your parents want the best for you. Cool. So in the beginning, we talked about the story of Esau and Jacob. I keep forgetting this guy's name. Anyway, Esau and Jacob. And then we talked about, hopefully you took a second and thought about what your personal red stew was. And now just thinking over it, like you can make sure you don't get into these temptations to eat your red stew and lose your birthright. So really be thinking about those guys when you have something. If you have something that is a really big struggle, like if it's drugs or alcohol or being in the wrong crowd and doing the wrong stuff, really take it to someone because you can get out of it. And it's better to get out of it now than to think you can't get out of it and end up getting caught and getting in real trouble later. So definitely talk to someone. You're not alone and it is okay. So we're just going to pray this real quick out. And then, yeah. So, Lord, I thank you so much for all the people who could watch this video. I pray that it inspired and helped someone with their life. And I pray that you would just show us our red stew, that we would be able to identify and be able to take action on the things that tempt us to doing things that are wrong, that are going to hurt us in the future. I pray that you give people courage, that if they need to talk to someone, that they can and they won't be afraid to. And that if someone doesn't have someone that they think they can talk to, help them find someone, Lord. And if you guys are watching this, just ask God out loud, like, Lord, help me find the courage and to find someone to talk to. If you don't know if you can find someone, if you don't know someone you can, just ask the Lord for courage or to find someone you can talk to, because talking to people really does help. So I ask all these things, Lord, in your son's Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I pray that it was inspiring and it helped you out a lot. You guys have a good one.